I think in schools, it's essential for children to have a broad-based education because schools are preparing people not just for a job, but to be citizens and to be people who have whole lives. Now, I actually think in universities that ought to continue, and that the best system is the liberal arts system, which prevails in Korea, in Scotland, in the US, and in smaller pockets of other parts of the world. And in fact, even Singapore and China, which certainly don't want to create robust democratic citizenship, as I do, they are introducing much more of the liberal arts and critical thinking because they think it's just important for the business culture. You can't get innovation without cultivating the imagination. But the capabilities approach is something that I have worked out along with a whole group of other people. There's now a whole international association, the Human Development and Capability Association, that fosters work on this. And what we're trying to do is set out an account of what it is for a country to move forward, to develop, that's rich and informed by what people are really striving for when they try to live meaningful lives. So it isn't just focused on profit, but it's focused on a whole range of essential opportunities for people in their lives. And I feel that for women in particular, that's an extremely urgent issue, because even when women have an 8-hour job, well, then they go home and they do so much elder care, child care, domestic labor that's not valued in the market, that they in effect have 2 jobs. And what they really lack is leisure and the opportunity to expand their imaginations through play. So I think that one, it sounds a little more frivolous, but it's actually not frivolous at all. Each country has to figure out, what are my problems, what are my funding sources, and what other resources can I tap? And I do think that in India, NGOs play a very important role. Well, of course, you could call these arts organizations NGOs, couldn't you? But they do things like educating working children, educating working women, that the public school sector just doesn't touch. And so then a lot of people are brought to education that otherwise would be completely outside the system. So I think that's very important. Now, I do think, ideally, we would want to move toward a situation where the public schooling that was provided to all children was much more adequate and much more inclusive. And that is what Kerala has done. So they don't need the NGOs quite so much because they've got better public schooling. The very existence of the Human Development Reports of the United Nations has put the accent now on education and health, and it's made countries at least embarrassed if they have low female literacy or some other statistic that makes them look bad compared to other countries. So just packaging the data in a new form has already changed, I think, the nature of the debate, because countries don't want to be low ranked in any ranking. It's very important that this debate is not dominated by the focus on short-term profit, which so often it is, because people are looking at these kids as mere instruments of national economic gain. I think that's encouraged by the GDP per capita measure of development, but it's also encouraged by the current economic tensions and the fact that people are desperate. They want to get back on the track economically. The debate about education had better be infused with voices from the arts, voices from the humanities, and with a concept of education for human capability, for the capability to be active in citizenship, which of course takes the ability to argue, the ability to imagine, but also the capability to live a whole meaningful life. And that's the question we need to be asking. What capabilities does a good education system promote? And how at each age and in each region, how are we going to do that?